and help but think um, about how many times, I used to worry so much. Used to be just worrying a whole lot. But I finally got to the place to where I said, okay, I'm going to have to trust God and I'm going to have to trust myself to be able to think life in order to speak life. And once I realized I had that power, there was no stopping me. So I just want to encourage you and remind you that you have that same power to speak life to yourself. On today, we want to talk about, of course, mental health, along with friendships and relationships. Now, we can really, I know all of you, like myself, can really think back on all of the friendships um, and all of those things that we um, really just know that we've made mistakes. I'll say that. We've made mistakes of picking friends as well as relationships. And then those of us who deal with mental health, um, it's kind of a tricky thing, because we need so much more, not only closeness, but also so much more space. And we're going to dive into that as we go further into the show. But what I want to do is introduce to you, as I call him, the captain. He is this dynamic man who has many talents and gifts, and he is the producer of the show. He is the president of Mahogany Steel Productions, and this gentleman is Mr. Dre Fields. Dre?
Hey,
Hey,
hi,
hey!
Jamie. How are you doing?
I'm dynamic. How are you?
I am fantastic. I am so excited that
Mhm.
you are here doing working it out. I
Yes.
can't. I really can't. My excitement. I can't control it. I can't contain it.
Hey.
So hi everyone, how are you guys doing? So my name is Dre Fields. I am the president of Mahogany Steel Productions, and I am the executive producer for Working It Out. As you are accustomed, Darius Mooring is normally your host. Unfortunately, Darius needed to step away due to a mental health crisis. So at Mahogany Steel Productions, what we believe in is mental health first and health first.
Yeah.
So we encourage all of our employees at Mahogany Steel Productions to take a break, communicate with the upper management staff, so that way we can make things easier and more comfortable for you, not just only in the workplace, but also like in your regular life. I am an advocate. When I first started in this business, I've kept the same. Best life living is hashtag love you first. And so you have to take some time for yourself, and your mental health is vital. So Darius has now stepped away from the show, and we are very close to the end of season 1. The show is so very close and dear to my heart. And so I'm very, very excited that moving forward, that Damian Michael Williams will be the host of Working It Out. So we'll be working it out with Damian Michael Williams. We only have 2 more episodes after this show. Right. So, but don't fret. We do have 2 very amazing panels for the holidays that will air in November and December, that I am so very excited about, because we will be talking about on the show religion and mental health. And we'll be talking about holidays and mental health, and helping our viewers to create a plan So that way, if you are by yourself and you're alone, because it's such a hard time in the holidays when you're by yourself, on plans of things that you can do to help sustain your mental health especially during these trying times. Every day we don't know what's happening in the world with the pandemic and
True.
the protestings and the
Yeah.
killings and everything. So it's a lot. As I said, for this show is so dear to my heart, where it's so vitally important that African Americans and Latinos actually talk about mental health, for us to start ending the stigma around mental health and all of the crisis and things that come along with mental health. And so that's why this month was really important, talking about relationships. So relationships, dealing with mental health, and relationships just in general.
Yes.
Will drive you to mental health crazy. Like
friendships, don't forget friendships.
Well, friends and family. And
right, friends and family.
Like it's woo, my God. It could be
my Lord.
It could be really like, tough and crazy. And we wanted to create a space that was safe for us to have a conversation with you, the viewers, as well as to get it out, talk about it. Indeed. And so if you have questions or you want to be a part of our show, I was like, just go to StreamYard.com on Facebook and submit to show, or you can text anonymously to 917-727-4574 during the show, and we will answer all of your questions during the show. This month is the Suicide Prevention Month, and we have partnered with NAMI, and so we want to just make sure that you guys get these resources that we have. So if you are feeling alone and feeling by yourself or just need someone to talk to, you can go to NAMI.org, or you can also dial their 1-800 number, which is 1-800-723-TALK. And they actually are a great company that does English and as well as Espanol. So if you are Latina, tú no hables inglés, you can also get the help that you actually need too. So we're pretty excited. I'm going to turn this show back over to Damien and welcome Damien Michael Williams to Working It Out. So now that we got the business out the way.
Right. Got all the preliminaries, All
preliminaries out the way.
But I mean, I really, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show, and first of all, welcome to Working It Out with Damien Michael Williams.
I'm so
excited. Thank you so much for this golden opportunity. I'm humbled to be here. But for me, I know it's not surprising because when you know what your journey and your destiny and your purpose is in life, you're not surprised by how and where you wind up. And usually, when you allow it and you rebel yourself, you are always wind up in the right space, in the right place. So I want to dig in. Because today, as I stated earlier before, we're speaking about mental health. And also, along with that, we're speaking about friendships and relationships. Now, for me, Dre, I could really kind of give up, how your teacher used to say, I need you to make 2 columns of the good side and the bad side. Yes. What would be, in your mind, in your view of life and aspects of life, in your perspective, what would be a positive part of having mental illness as having a good family or good friendships? What is the good side of that? And also a good relationship.
So for me, the good side comes where oftentimes I feel that it's easier to communicate what exactly is going on with you in the moment.
True.
Oftentimes. It also forces you to really see yourself.
Okay.
And then so when seeing yourself, as I always say, you want to create, like, every time you're dealing with somebody, you're creating the world you want to live in. And so growing up, you would kind of hear, well, I'm a preacher's kid, so you would hear things like, you treat people how you want to be treated, you
Exactly.
know. And so, but what happens is, right. So what happens is you kind of get in this habit forming of, I want my world to be like this. So you start treating people how you want to be treated within your world.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes very easy, but then it becomes very hurtful, because what your optimism normally is crushed by reality,
Okay.
because everybody doesn't want to live in your world, or everybody
True.
doesn't understand your world. And so then you have to then figure out, well, how do I describe my world to you for you to respect my world?
Mm-hmm.
So I think people with mental illness have more of a get you to respect where they're coming from, more than an accept where they're coming from, because you don't really have to accept anything.
Right.
You don't want to.
Right.
But since we have to dwell in the same space, let's respect.
Mm-hmm.
These are my challenges.
Right.
Here's your opportunity to say what your challenges are.
These are my boundaries.
Can we come together?
Right.
Like, can we come together and
Mm-hmm.
be civil, or do we need
Mm-hmm.
to not be nothing? Like, I'm going.
Right.
So I think there are perks in it.
Right.
I think the downfalls in it
Mhm.
come from when you're not, well, I can just speak for myself. So I am a high functioning anxiety. So
Okay.
like I have been dealing with it since I was maybe 12 years old.
Okay.
I'm now 49. And so going to
You're
therapy.
33. Stop it.
Oh, you so sweet. No, I was a grown old black man. I was a grown old black man.
I'm grown now.
But in
Cheers
dealing
for that.
with, right, in dealing with my own anxiety, with my
Okay.
own mental health, over the years I have learned all of these tools to help me, one, keep my anxiety in check, but also what I know is when I'm not being authentic within myself, when
True.
I am not doing the work every day to keep my anxiety in check, when it goes off the rails.
Okay. If I may interject right
Sure.
there, because I totally agree and concur with you, because it also, for a person like myself, I deal with high anxiety and chronic depression. Woo!
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a powerful mix. Just whoa.
So up and
But for
down.
me, it's just, can I trust you in my safe space?
Right.
Because we all have that space to where it's like, okay, I'll stay here alone if I have to. But if you really want to be in my world, I need to know I can trust you in my safe space. How has that, experience has been with you in life?
So for me, it's been, so everybody starts with an A with me.
Okay. Okay.
So I go in trusting.
The grading. Mm-hmm.
I go in full, like I'm 100%, if I'm in, I'm 100% in, both feet in the water.
True.
And then what I know about, what I had to learn about myself was that I operate in a space where those that are really not for me normally destroy themselves with me. And so they wind up removing themselves without even if, and I may even try to fight to keep you in,
Mm-hmm.
not realizing that you're literally removing yourself because you're not really supposed to be part of my existence or part of my world, or I'm supposed to just learn this lesson and move on.
True.
For me, always just setting that boundary of when it happens, allowing it to happen, because I'm an all-in type of individual. When loyalty is my like non-negotiable. Like,
Right. That's high on the list. Top shelf.
it's a non-negotiable. Like, you're like, loyalty is everything. And then after loyalty, for me, respect. Disrespect to me is like a no turnaround. Like, there's Because disrespecting someone is a thought process fulfilled.
Okay. Okay.
You don't unintentionally disrespect someone.
Right.
You just don't. Like, my thing is, you don't like, oh, I didn't really mean to disrespect you. Yes, you did, because you either knew this was going to hit hard, you knew this was not in a great this was not in a space you would accept.
Right. Right.
Which is a guarantee factor that is disrespectful. So I'm a firm believer that if you lead with love and end with grace, life is truly your oyster. And it's hard living that way, but
yes,
it has been beneficial for me for many, 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 many years.
Okay.
So
I mean, yeah, I definitely know how you feel when it comes to that, because the people that we allow into our lives have to solely take in ownership and accountability.
True.
And also have to be firm with both feet on the ground. Because when we go into our moments, as I call emergency moments, to where it's like, okay, it's hitting me. This anxiety is hitting me. This chronic depression is hitting me hard. You know, you need to know when I need space. You need to know when I need that support, whether it be on a family, friendship, or relationship level.
True.
Especially when it comes to relationships, I always talk about, I label it as intimate support, because that person that is with you in a relationship has been able to see you naked in more ways than one.
True.
So, you really have to have someone that, in the midst of that, can say those things, or knows when to be silent and just let you have your moment. So,
but doesn't that really come from a space where, so during the City on the Block, I'm really big on like talking about dating over 40 and dealing with your emotional baggage as well as your mental health, as well as like all aspects of your life at 40, and how dramatically things start to change at 40. And introducing yourself is a necessary thing at 40, because at 40, like, this is who I am. Like,
everything is set. The stage is set.
This is not I'm gonna change my mind about me, or or my favorite is I want to be able to change. You're set.
It's done deal.
Now you may be able to make some adjustments, but there will not be no.
You might be able to bend a little,
Well, because the only way you're gonna have a full change, Black Jesus is gonna have to come down, slay you down, and you're gonna have to have a Saul moment where you're gonna go blind
and say, I'm not returning back yet, but I'm here to change you.
Right, and then change your whole name, because you got to become somebody whole brand new, because the old you is still there.
Listen,
like it's cooking, bacon, and been in a pan for 40 years.
That part.
So you
bacon, eggs, and toast. I'm just saying,
such a necessity. Like at this point, and especially when it comes to your mental health, you like this is
we're not for the weak.
Well, more than just not for the weak. Part of the larger issue is, as they say, without information,
it's all about that knowledge.
You make wrong moves. Make wrong moves. And so the problem oftentimes comes where the fear of really telling someone, this is really who I am, this is what I'm really about.
Right.
Or playing the I call it the circus card.
Okay.
Where it's like, So now we're going to play 3-ring circus. So I'm now going to tell you this much and see how you handle that. Then I'm going to tell you this much. So you're going to jump through this fiery hoop. Now I'm going to tell you this much. And now you're on the flying trapeze. No, that's
So
not how
that right there piques my interest, because for the viewer's sake, what would you say? First of all, share with us your boundaries, and also share with us the importance of boundaries because they are extremely important, especially with friends, family. Yeah, because sometimes family, especially, oh, we grew up together. Oh, you'll be all right. Oh, just shake it off.
Oh, no.
No, that's a no-no.
With me, that's a bad space, player.
That's a horrible space for me. It's like, what?
I'm like, that's not how that works. That's not how any of this works.
I promise you.
So, what I would say is, one big thing with me is like like I said, so I start out in a trust place with everyone. So in that trust, integrity, loyalty, respect. Those 3 things are almost one and the same for me.
Okay.
So they hold the same amount of power in the sense of, because they all connect with each other. You can't have one without the other. And so for me, like that's one cluster of my non-negotiables. Then my other non-negotiables are tell me the truth, even if it hurts my feelings.
Yes.
Like, even if it hurts my feelings, tell me the truth. If I decide to ask you a stupid question, like, do I look fat in these jeans? If I do, tell me.
Right.
Because we're at the age now. Well, because we're at the age now where it's like, okay, so we're now in quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little thicker than a Snicker that I'm not accustomed to being. So like, but I'm still cute. So
hey, it works. I come to let you know it still works. I promise you, it all works. How you doing?
This face still sets up.
Cheers to that. How you doing? It ain't lost its power. I just want to.
I'll be there for that, So,
I mean, really, Dre. I mean, for me, I had to, especially as I stated before. Yes, born and raised in the church, in the Black church.
Mm-hmm.
So of course we're taught anything negative, rebuke the devil and he'll flee. Nope. So after that revelation came,
I disagree with that.
But I mean, as far as when you have something and you keep pushing it and trying to loose here, no, you need to confront it.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. But folk play. So
right.
They my thing is, because I strongly believe in that scripture when you say when people would say that, because it's true. Because what it does mean is to confront. It does not mean, like I'm gonna say like, oh, okay, make it go away, God. Like you're saying, like situation. That's not how that works.
Exactly, and especially for those of us who grew up with a church mind, we think that's all I have to do. But I'm like, no, you have to confront this baby because there's a balance between not only spiritual but natural in any realm.
Fact.
So what you're dealing with, because as for me, even after going through all of that and getting beyond that, not to say that we don't have, because as I said early in the show, we have the power to speak life. Got it. But also, because just like it was told to me when I was very, very young, after you leave these 4 walls called the church, you have to live life. So there is a struggle with the balance. Because then you realize, because for me, I had to actually confront it and just finally give it a name.
Oh, wow. So what's your name?
It said, hey, my name is chronic depression, and hey, my name is high anxiety. How you doing? We've been here for years. You've been ignoring us and rebuking us, but yeah, we're here.
Right.
And it just like, so now what? And what? So I finally had to zone in.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing for me, even at this point in life, yes, I deal with a daily battle with chronic depression and high anxiety. Got it good. But I know within myself that I don't have to settle for it. In other words, I don't have to embrace it like this is how my life is going to be for the rest of my life. No,
You don't have
I
to
don't.
yeah.
Right. I don't have to succumb to it.
True.
Yes, it's a present and a real reality. It's a life reality,
Right.
but I don't have to succumb to it. So, what are some things or some exercise? It doesn't have to be spiritual or anything like that or deep, but what are some things that you do, daily mantras, to keep
For
yourself balanced and afloat
so
before we go
um
into that dark hole?
wow. So I do quite a few things, I can honestly say.
Okay.
That I always recommend for other people to do. So I talk to myself in the mirror in the morning. I hype my own self. I'm like my own hype man. And
Yes, cheerleader. That's what's
and
up.
well, and it's just to the factor because I'm going, if I don't believe I would sleep with me, who else gonna believe they gonna sleep with me? As I say at the end of City Love Speaks all the time, I was like, if you don't love yourself, don't expect nobody else to love you. Like I'm going, so you can't expect something you're not giving to yourself. So if you're
True.
not giving yourself encouragement, if you're not giving yourself love, if you're not taking a moment to appreciate you and celebrating your small, it's not even about the big things. It's about the small things you're able to accomplish every day for yourself. It could be just as easy as, you know what? I gave myself 1 hour of trash TV. It made me laugh. I needed
Yeah.
that laugh. It was
Yes.
just like probably last night. I had a full day, which you were part of me with part of the day as I was prepping for this
Yes.
show. Getting ready for the R&B aunties.
Yes.
And so,
Aunties. Auntie
Gladys
Patty.
is
Auntie
like my
Gladys.
auntie. You're saying right. That's like my auntie. So I'm like, when you are like, I had I've been a fan, but I've also been able to be in the presence of
Okay.
them and learn as well.
Okay.
And so for me, it was like I created this whole evening
Right. Okay.
for
Yes.
myself.
Okay.
I cook things I love. I bought one of my favorite bottles of wine. I baked my infamous bourbon chocolate chip brownies. I made ice cream.
Come on
I,
here.
I like
Where's my plane ticket and my bag and my luggage? Hold on one second. Let me find it. I know I had it around here somewhere. Hold on. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't
these
find it
bourbon
yet. But
cherries.
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I dipped these bourbon cherries in chocolate, and you know what I'm saying? Like
Uh-huh.
I
Talk
had
to
this,
me.
I created this moment to go along with, because what I knew that Gladys is an alien. That's the best way to
Yeah.
say it. She's an alien.
Just
Her
gonna make me go in all
annoying,
over again.
right. I said her anointing is so ridiculously crazy. I
Totally
knew I
annoying.
was going to go in and leave very spiritually fed. And I was like, I feel like I deserve a greedy moment. So I'm going to feed my body and feed my soul and my spirit all at the
Now,
same
that
time.
sounds like top shelf self care. How important
It
is
was
that?
amazing.
How
Vital.
important? Yeah,
It's,
vital.
it's
Yeah,
vital.
that's the key
Vital.
word right there.
Not even important. It's vital.
Vital.
It's like breathing. I don't
Yeah,
care what like, and
life and breath. Right.
once I got
Yeah.
into entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
became like having an IV, in all
Yeah.
honesty, because
Literally.
um dealing my whole life dealing with anxiety, which growing up, people just thought I was really hyper. And it really wasn't me being hyper. It was me responding to what's around
Mm-hmm.
me. And so, and then, you know, growing up a PK, it's
Mm-hmm.
that and adding perfection on top of that. So
Right.
it was just always stressful all of the
Right.
time.
You
So
were
I'm able to
consistently giving
deal.
of yourself. Right.
Yeah, so I'm able to deal in high pressure environments all of the time with ease. Like I'll say in a minute, like, oh, you know, I deal with the situation and deal with the emotions later because
Okay.
I learned to do it that way to survive.
So that's
And
your
so
balance.
being on
Right.
tour, you know, like then going on tour and being in shows and being an artist and then delving into television, it was like, this is the most high anxiety, stressful space you can consistently always be in
Right.
because you are always in a space of being judged. You are always in this crazy realm of not feeling good enough, not doing enough. I didn't say the right thing. Oh my God, did I offend somebody? How do I make this better for 9,472 people that did not watch? Like, oh, like it becomes a really high pressured factor personally. Then you add money to it. You add finances and investors and
Would
it.
you say, because from that right there, what you just said, that just really intrigued me because things of that nature, especially society, do you think society encourages the effects of high anxiety or chronic
Yes, it's good
depression?
television.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's
Okay.
good television. I mean, we see it on a regular basis. We see it
Right.
on Atlanta Housewives. We see it in young
Yes.
people. And we like to the point where this is how horrible it is. So MTV has made a whole lifetime series of My Teenage Mom.
Uh-huh. Right.
That
Literally.
if it is
Literally.
not the most high pressured, anxiety, stressful space
Hmm.
and with no real help in dealing.
Truth.
Like
Truth.
there are no real tools that they're
Because
given
that,
to be like,
and
this is
that's
how
what
you
I
get
was
this.
talking
This is how
about.
this makes this happen.
Right. And that's
And
what I was
that's
talking
why
about when
this show is so
being in
important.
church and they tell you just rebuke the devil and he'll flee. I'm like, okay, that does have some truth to it, but you still have to go through the process. You have to take
Well,
care
the
of those
process
bullet points.
is, but what people don't understand is the devil is ever so present. That's the
Yeah.
facing. You are consistently confronting. It never
Yeah.
goes away. The fight is
Right.
always on. And so that's when
And
it
then
was
we always
like,
turn
you
our
know,
head
you
like
hit the
that.
devil.
Right.
But no. And see, and I guess this is where in my spiritual growth and growing up, that's not what I learned.
Uh-huh.
Like I grew up in a space where so growing up there was this song when I was little
Okay.
that was I'm running for my life. If anybody asks
I
me
asked you, what's the
what
matter with
happened to me, tell them I'm saved and
me?
sanctified and I'm
Sanctified.
running for my life.
Holy Ghost filled,
So
by
as a
baptized.
small child, you know, my grandmother was superintendent of Sunday schools in the Coach Church. And so
Hmm.
I was always encouraged to ask questions. I was always encouraged to research and read. And I
Right.
was probably one of the few Black Koja kids that learned not just the scripture, but learned the history. Like
Right.
reading, my grandmother was big on like Josephus, this philosopher. You need to read about him. You know, Britannica Encyclopedia. You need to read about them. My thing is when they talk about the children of Israel walked, you know, for 40 years
Right.
in a circle. She said,
Uh-huh.
I need you to look and see what this circle looks like. And she said, I want to show you how amazing God is that they walked in a circle in confusion until a whole generation passed away for them to be able to go into Israel. She
Yep.
was like, this is how, like, she was like, I need you to be able to visually see as well as understand the scripture. Because it's like, well, they literally were walking in a circle, but had no idea they were walking in the circle. It just lets you know when you have no knowledge, you make wrong moves.
You perish.
And well, more than just perish. When you
Mm-hmm.
depend on one person for the knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
when you can get it for
And you don't
yourself.
study to show yourself approved. So, but the point I'm making is that not only is there a spiritual side, but you also have to take care of that natural, which
Well,
you
it
just
combines
stated, as
together.
far as taking, going through the process of the bullet points of the
Yeah.
process of confronting. So that's what I mean when, like, that's not what it's all to it.
Well, true.
As
Well,
far
I think
as a balance.
with
Yeah.
mental health, I really
Because
believe
in
that
church,
you
that's what I'm
confront it
saying. Though,
every day.
in church, you basically learn the spiritual side, but most churches didn't teach you that you might need to
True.
go to therapy.
Right.
If you at a certain level, you might need to be on some pills or some type of
Yeah.
regimen, medical regimen. So that's what I mean. Getting to that side. Yeah.
100%. Like
Yeah.
in believe because I've seen it.
Right.
But again, like we have talked about this. I grew up really privileged in so many more ways than just money. Where I grew up in a medical family, so medical help was always available. Like it was the science of things lined up with the scripture. It wasn't like the scripture against.
Right.
It was things were lined up because I was raised and taught that everything that's on the earth is brought here for its good. We make the decision not to use it for good. So our goal is to line these things up, not how we think they fit, but how they fit. And so I grew up in that environment.
Okay.
Which isn't the same environment for most PKs and most kids that grew up in the church. Like I had a lot of freedoms. I was like, well, I can say you did not have it all. And so I have a very different outlook when it comes to spirituality. I have a very different outlook when it comes to prayer. I have a very different outlook when it comes to confronting. Because to me, confronting is not about making something go away. Confronting is about making that thing useful. And so every day I confront my anxiety in its useful.
This is why we have these podcasts, because everybody has a different taste of wisdom and different outlook. Yeah.
And I think this is why and this is why this show is so dear and near to my heart, because there are so many times I think that we see the idea of therapy, but no real tools. Like there are no real takeaways. There is always kind of a blaming. Like there's always kind of this blaming, or there's this lack of responsibility when self.
Yes. Yes.
So it becomes really difficult. And then it becomes a larger problem when it turns on the advocator. So when you have an advocator for mental health that may not have what you say, I believe everybody has a mental health issue. That's just me. I just believe that. Everybody has a up, the down, and like whatever. I believe that goes around. I just believe for some people it's a lot more severe than it is for others. But the thing that we all have in common is we all have the commonality to take responsibility of our actions,
right,
and how we respond. And so
with that, I have a question for you.
Sure.
As far as the Black community as a whole and therapy and how the Black community looks at, even though they're a little bit more open now to therapy, but the main mentality, when it comes to African American community and therapy, because, especially, anyone, especially within our community, if it was found out that you went to see a therapist, oh, you going to a shrink, he crazy,
Well, yes, but
all those types of things. Yeah.
So this is what I kind of love about social media and pop culture. So because we have Oprah, Kanye West is a prime example of you may need to check yourself out.
That part.
Because there are moments where you're like, yeah, I have a cousin, friend, or myself that has responded in that exact same manner.
That part.
And so one thing is it forces you to evaluate yourself.
Okay.
What we've learned now with millennials, great thing about the millennial culture now is it is trendy to have a mental health issue. Like because now you have it's about building a team. So like I've had a team for years. I have a therapist, I have a trainer, a nutritionist. I have all these things to make my best life living factor that has become such a trend of the have and have nots that is kind of forced mental health to become a high priced commodity instead of an affordable necessity.
Truth.
And so there are perks to the factor of it being, I don't think people think you now that, because you see a therapist that you're crazy now. I think more so, especially in the Black community, because we are a little self-aggrandized often, where we feel like, why didn't you tell me?
True.
Not realizing that maybe I didn't have the words.
Number one, we can start there.
But on the next, it's but why didn't you say you didn't have the words? Like it then becomes a ping pong back and forth.
Ownership.
But
yeah.
And so it's like, if this is your issue, it is your responsibility to introduce yourself to me. Otherwise, I am only going by what I find out and what you allow me to know. And there are things that I should know, especially when you're dealing with the factor of we all have a village of people. We all have people that care about us, even people we don't know that care about us.
Literally. Yeah.
And because we don't really share the worst, or we don't share the process before the worst, it creates such a divide and trauma that then what happens is, what I'm finding out more and seeing more is the acting out of the person with the mental health issue on the supporter. Because now the rules of supporting have changed in the sense of, because you're self-grandizing, you want to be supported how you feel like you need to be supported, but you're really not in a place to kind of know what you need. If we're honest, when you're going through a mental health crisis, you kind of really don't know what you need.
Right.
You are pacing and figuring it out and stepping on stones and landmines and the whole nine. You have no real direction. And so you kind of need the help. But because the help isn't coming in the form you want in the moment, it then becomes, this is where I feel like a lot of the, oh, you crazy, oh, this, and where the stigma still lies, where I think it's not always just the non-supporter. Sometimes I believe it is within the mental health. It's like you're not really being truthful and honest about where you are right now, because I can only deal with you from where you are right now. If I don't know where you are right now, then I'm going to deal with you how I've always dealt with you. And that may not be acceptable in this moment. But if I have no idea the moment has changed other than a feeling, how do you move forward? How do you approach that in the sense of, now the person with the mental illness is not in ownership? Now I'm the advocate and I'm trying to be on your side with it, but how do I support when you're not trying to support yourself? So I
So how
think
would
this
you?
becomes the largest challenge a
Hmm.
lot of times with the stigma, because it's like, is your mental health an excuse? Like, are you supposed to always get a pass? Oh, because you acted out. Oh, they have a mental health issue, so that's just how they are. I'm gonna say no. I
No,
think I think you
no.
may be going through a crisis,
We're
but
all held
you have to,
accountable.
and right, so you have to still take accountability of your
Hmm.
actions within saying like, um, and you may not be able to take the court of those actions in the moment,
Hmm.
but at some point you have
You have
to
to come
address
back to it. Yeah.
this is, and so it's like Layla Hathaway does this song that I love, and this line in it that always says in it, it says that you will always come back to where you begin.
Hmm.
And it's one of my like favorite songs by her, just because the story is really true. We live in a
Right.
circle. We don't
True.
always want to admit it, but we live in this circle where it's like the goal, the reason we keep going around in this circle, what we don't realize is that the more we get it right, the bigger our circle becomes.
Right.
But you always visit, but you always come around the sun. You
Hmm.
always meet yourself. Always. You can't go nowhere
Okay.
in life and not meet yourself. You gonna show
So
up.
in that, in speaking of the African American community and the African American family, what do we have? I'll put it out there like this, because there are those families who know how to help you gain the tools that you need. And then there are those that realistically that say, as I stated before, oh, you just need to shake it off. You'll be all right. I've been there, done that, wrote the book. You be good. And
Right.
just pass it right on off like it's nothing. Um, then, you have a variety of
But
different
it's right, we are
reactions.
capable
Right.
of creating our own village.
Okay.
We come
So,
from a village.
so would you say we have to
Right.
create outside of our
Oftentimes,
family? Okay.
well, I'm going to say, so I come from a very religious family.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
in coming from a very religious family, um, my sexual practices are not very encouraged, accepted, or
Oh.
respected.
Hmm.
Go figure.
Yeah.
But
Who knew?
I was very fortunate where um, that there was a family that me and their daughter were very like we're close friends.
Okay.
Where we were like sisters. And so when my family was at a place of not respecting or accepting me, they embraced me. Their whole family embraced me. And
Wow.
so I wound up walking into a whole new village. And then what I
Okay.
learned was the more that I toured, the more that I was on the road, when I say I have so many adopted mamas, like that have come out of nowhere that I've never met
Wow.
before. And they were like,
Nurturing.
little baby, come here. I need to
Hmm.
talk to you.
Right.
And
Come and
especially
sugar.
for me, and it's like, especially for me, it was like a really big deal when I went on this national tour with Full Monty. And it was the first
Okay.
time I had ever been on a tour with, like, it was me, one other Black person, and a Hispanic dude that was in the crew. We were the only people of color in a 60-piece tour.
Wow.
And so they never understood why the moment we got everywhere, the first thing I did was drop my things down and I went to the blackest place in wherever city we were in.
Right.
I was like, I
Nearby.
need to be around the Negroes for a
African
moment. I need
Americans.
to breathe it in I was like,
All African
somebody got
Americans,
some
please
cornbread,
point me in
somebody got
direction.
some beans and rice. Like it was
Listen, where's
that,
the South Side? Right, that part.
that part. And so this is when I knew like how a blessing could be. So
Okay.
we're on the tour and it is Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving in my household is always been a really big deal because in Black culture in general, and then I come from a mixed culture of West Indian and Puerto Latino and Black and the whole nine. So there's this big mixture of like love, and all love comes in food.
Right.
In our culture, it just really
Yes.
does. All love comes in food. So that
food is an expression of love, baby.
right.
It really
So
is.
When Auntie Titi makes that 7-Up cake, it's with
Oh,
all the love.
yes.
And
that
3 liters of 7-Up. Like
mix it right there. There they go.
Diabetes. It's a diabetes coma waiting to happen, but it is worth dying for.
Good
It was
eating.
that just in love. Like it was that. So we're on tour. We're in Chicago. And so the company was like, it was Thanksgiving evening. So they took us to this fancy restaurant. And so this is the first time in my life that I have had Caucasian Thanksgiving. And worse, in a restaurant. So my grandmother called me and was like, she was like, happy Thanksgiving. How you doing? What y'all doing? I'm like, she was like, what's wrong? And I literally sat at that table with tears streaming down my face. And I was like, they ain't got no dressing. These green beans ain't cooked. This turkey ain't got no salt, no pepper, no nothing. Like, I like tears streaming down my face. I was so upset.
Right.
And I was like, what? I was like, she was like, baby, it's gonna be okay. She said, so I guess now there'll be your rider to come home for the holiday.
They got to let you out. Right.
So I hung up with her. And so we had just left Savannah, Georgia, where I had met Abuela Colar.
Okay.
That's when she came to the show. She came to the show every single night we were there. Wow. Because she came with her girlfriends, and she came every night because she said I need to support my brown babies. Because and I was glad because it was only 2 of us on the whole stage.
Appreciate it. Right. Much appreciated.
And so I was here for it. So she called me just to wish me a happy Thanksgiving. I had just got from my grandmother. I was so very upset. She was like, baby, what's wrong with you? And I said, I'm just kind of missing home. I was like, this is the first time I done had to eat a white people's Thanksgiving. She said, oh, baby, well, where are you staying? What theater y'all at? I was like, oh, we're at this theater, whatever, but we're not there tonight. We're not back till the morning. When I tell you, so our call was at 1:00 to do set sound change.
Right.
I came back to the theater to catering trays of Black folk Thanksgiving. Dressing, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, cornbread, the whole night. So I'm thinking
maybe that's brother, that's a Black Jesus miracle right there.
Right. So I'm thinking, it's my grandmama has done, because Bernice has moved mountains and created miracles.
Right.
So I was like, she ain't never gonna let her baby just struggle.
Never.
Was not her at all. It was Gabriela. And I was like, and she called me and she said, so baby, did you get my gift? And I said, this was you? I was like, oh my God. I was like, you don't understand. And every time I say this phrase, it comes from her. She says, baby, meeting you blessed my whole soul. And that's where that comes from. So every time I hashtag my whole soul blessed, that's where that comes from. Because and she is a more blessing to me without me knowing that I was a blessing to her. What I'm saying, and so what I'm saying is that you never know who you're affecting. Why doing the work for your mental health, for yourself,
Yes.
is so vitally important because it allows other people to come in and nurture and feed you when you don't realize that you need it. They're like
True.
in a place of giving when you are at your lowest or at your peak or on the bridge and not knowing how to come back off of it. They are really, really there for you.
True. And in the interest of time, I want to first of all concur with you because as I've been sharing my high anxiety, chronic depression journey on social media, so many people that I was humbled by it because so many people that I thought was okay,
Mm-hmm.
they would hit me up, in my DMs and say, "Thank you. I needed that right now. I thought I was the only person that felt like that." Because some people haven't given their mental or inner issues a name.
True.
So, for us to be able to avail ourselves and to be open and naked and just say, "Hey, this is me."
Well,
And,
right.
you
Giving
know,
it a name, I love the fact that, as you said, you giving it a name.
yes.
It helps create an ownership. It creates a relationship and a partnership with it because
Mhm.
it's the thing that's most scary, I think, for most people that are suffering with a mental health thing because, everything says be stronger. Everything says you can make it through. Everything says this. And like, it is like, that it's okay not to be okay. Well, really it is. You can't be okay every day. Like, it's
Right.
just not possible. Like, to be okay every day. But
Right.
you can be okay most of the days
Dre, in the
because you
last minutes of this segment or this podcast for today, I want to take out the time first to say thank you for being you. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much for sharing your gifts and your talents with us because I want our viewers to know that this is not just something for entertainment. This is
No.
real.
Yeah.
This podcast is about wholeness and healing and dealing with your mental issues or whatever it is, whatever has you feeling low or heavy, and to be able to give it a name and see, not only does that give you ownership, but that gives you power. That puts you right back up front. Also,
Sure.
just want to let you know that we have resources here. And I know we're coming close to the holidays toward the end of this year. And, it's rough for us, for people like us. But I just want to we want to remind you that you're not alone. You can give a call to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. They're available 24 hours a day. And you can give them a call at 1-800-273-8255. And don't be afraid to call. I
Or
know
you,
sometimes, and I really want to speak
you can
to,
send them, you can hit them at NAMI.org and you can chat.
right,
Like, you have to make a
right.
phone call.
I know it's
So,
a struggle, especially because somebody out there right now is thinking like, I really didn't want to think that I was like other people or I like that or dealing with this. But I promise you, you're not alone. You're not walking this journey alone. So I want to leave you with this. First of all, working it out with Damien Michael is a tool to help understand and embrace mental health issues. We seek to share our stories and advise that if you are in need of mental health resources, reach out to NAMI.org. That's NAMI.org. Um, Last but not least, yes, we talked about mental health and friendship and relationships and family. But first of all, before we seek any of that out, love starts with you. So love on yourself today. Make today the first day of you loving yourself. Because why? You're forever worth it. All right? Thank you. God bless you all. Once again, my name is Damian Michael Williams, and this is Working It Out with Damian Michael Williams. Have a great night. All right? Take care. We love you. Bye.